So as we're now in an international break, I thought it would be a timely part of the year to do an updated version of the Bookies end of season predictions. The last time we checked out the Bookies end of season predictions was at the end of August, and they've made quite a few changes since that point. I'd like to hear from you guys in the comments down below on how some of these have shifted, and if you're going to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. 250 likes would be massively appreciated. But without any further ado, let's jump in. So it's no changes at the bottom of the Bookies table. They still have Rotherham as the most likely side to be relegated this season. Of course, Rotherham currently sitting 23rd in the Championship table. And I think the biggest worry with Rotherham right now is just how reliant they've been on their home form to accumulate the points. Obviously, prior to the international break, they finally got that first point on the road away at Southampton. And maybe that will be a bit of a spark for them to pick up more points on the road going forward. But as of recording, Rotherham are only averaging 0.54 points per game, which if projected over an entire season would only see them collecting 25 points, and that's a real worry for the Millers. And yeah, clear areas where they absolutely need to improve. 23rd place, the Bookies then have Sheffield Wednesday, and they have fallen down one place by where the Bookies had them last time. Last time we went ahead and checked on these odds, Sheffield Wednesday were actually in 22nd place. A little bit has happened since then. Obviously, Xisco Munoz no longer in the job. I think it had become untenable by that point because it has been such a disastrous start to the season for Wednesday. 11 games in and still yet to win a match this season. Only 3 points on the board. And right now, the survival chances do look slim. Then finishing the relegation zone off in 22nd place, the Bookies do have QPR. So from a month ago until now, the Bookies still have the exact same bottom three. It is the bottom three in real life right now. It's QPR in that 22nd spot. They have been bumped up one place since last time, but still one of the three sides most likely to go down based on the current relegation odds. And to be fair, at the start of the season, Rotherham, Sheffield Wednesday and QPR were probably the most back sides to go down by a lot of fans and content creators. That's the bottom three in real life, and that's who the Bookies have down there at the end of the season. 21st place and just outside the relegation zone, the Bookies then have Plymouth Argyle, who have fallen 2 places in their overall table since we did this video last time. Now, Plymouth didn't have the best of runs prior to the international break, just one win from their last 5 matches. They lost back-to-back games as well, back-to-back home matches before this international break, and are shipping goals at quite the alarming rate at the moment. 19 goals conceded in their first 11 matches. Plymouth do tend to get into good attacking areas though, and I do think that Plymouth have more goals in them than a lot of the other sides who are tipped to be in and around this region of the table, and I think that could be crucial in carrying them over the line. In 20th place, the Bookies then have Huddersfield, who have jumped up 1 place from last time. Now, quite a lot has happened at Huddersfield since we last did one of these Bookies prediction videos. Obviously, Neil Warnock no longer in the hot seat as the ownership went ahead and jumped in for Darren Moore when he obviously became available and let the club know that he was interested in taking the job. Moore still yet to get his first win as Huddersfield boss, 3 draws and a loss in his first 4 matches. Huddersfield fans, how are you currently finding the vibe around the club, and what's your early verdict on Moore? In 19th place, and actually a faller by 4 places, it's Swansea. Now, Swansea had an absolutely disastrous start to the new season. Didn't seem like Duff had got his feet properly under the table. The fan base hadn't quite taken to him, but before this recent international break, we saw Swansea really turning a corner. They've won their last 4 matches on the bounce and have climbed all the way up to 12th in the Championship and are starting to perform like the side that I think a lot of people thought they would be at the start of the season. Funnily enough though, the Bookies have them all the way down in 19th. Obviously, it's not too long ago that Swansea were in that region of the table, but based on the current run of form they're on, I think Swansea would be looking more up than down the table right now. Next up in 18th place, we have Watford, who are the biggest overall faller on this video. They've fallen 10 places from just 1 month ago based on the Bookies relegation odds. The Bookies now having them in 18th place. A month ago, they had them all the way up in the lofty heights of 8th. Now, Watford haven't been having a great time of it recently. They're 5 games without a win, just 2 wins from their first 11 matches, and in some quite surprising news, Valérien Ismaël was handed a new contract on the back of this sort of disastrous run that they've had recently. 20th in the Championship, 10 points from their first 11 matches, so averaging less than a point per game under Ismaël. The frustration with Watford is you can see what Ishmael is trying to build towards, but there's just been so many individual mistakes, especially in their back line and a forward line which has been misfiring so far. Watford are one of the sides that I do worry about at the moment. Another side who just haven't been having a good time of it recently are Stoke City. They've fallen by 8 places in the bookies' estimations. Since we last did this video, they're now down in 17th. In real life, they're even lower than that, down in 21st place. It really feels like that late turnaround against Bristol City really could have saved Alex Neil in the job, really, because had it not been for that late turnaround at Ashton Gate, Stoke currently would be sitting in the relegation zone. Just 3 wins from their first 11 matches. I know they have had injuries to contend with recently, but so has every other Championship club, and obviously a lot of new players coming into bed into that team as well. Just doesn't feel like things are clicking for Alex Neil right now, and after this international break, he absolutely needs a run of form. In 16th place, the bookies then have Millwall. They've dropped off 5 places from where they had them last time. Millwall in real life currently find themselves 15th in the table, and they've sort of struggled to find much momentum throughout this season so far. There have been a few positive indicators, but often on the back of a win they've been bumped down to earth with a bit of a disappointing follow-up performance, and they've just not been able to knit together those consistent performances yet. Whether or not this will be a Millwall side that perhaps grows into this season, time will tell, but the bookies aren't too hot on Millwall right now, especially how they were at the start of the season. Blackburn have fallen just 1 place in the bookies' overall estimation since last time. They've dropped down to 15th in their predictions. Now, Blackburn hadn't been having a great time of things before this international break, but they did pick up that statement win against QPR. Now, plenty of teams are getting the better of QPR right now, and Blackburn will have sterner tests to come after this international break, but some good attacking play by Rovers in that one. Sigurdsson especially really coming and showing his quality in that game, and if that's the template for Rovers going forward, maybe we will see a run of consistency after the break. A big overall climber from last time, the bookies then has Cardiff up next. Now in real life, Cardiff are even higher than this. They're up in 8th at the moment, but we all know the Championship table is incredibly congested in this region of the table, so it really is anyone's guess where all of these clubs are going to finish come the end of the season. But Cardiff strung together that really good run of results. And there was a little bit of a drop off before the international break with a loss and a draw, but even so, a lot of people had Cardiff down as just surviving this season, but I think on the basis of what we've seen in their first 11 matches, they'll be a lot more comfortable than that. The bookies have been kind enough to bump Bristol City up by 4 places. That's pretty much where they are in the table as things stand, in that middling region of the table. Whether or not they'll have enough to kick on for a place in the top 6, it remains to be seen, but I'd say around about 13th is probably a realistic finish for Bristol City right now. Start of the season, the bookies were a little bit lower on them than a lot of other people. The bookies giving my side Preston a few more props as well. They've bumped North End up to 12th in the table. Originally they had us down in 16th. Now in real life we're currently 3rd. We had an absolutely lightning start to this new season. However, prior to the international break, we did find ourselves in quite a sticky patch with 3 consecutive losses, conceding goals at an alarming rate. The problem at North End, which was really a problem last season, was our record against those sides in and around the top 6 just wasn't good enough, and based on the last 3 matches, it seems like that may be a problem for us once again. But we'll look to dust ourselves down and go again after this international break, and hopefully we can turn that run around again. 11th place, the bookies then have Birmingham. Now they are occupying a spot in the top 6 as things stand, but things are incredibly close in this part of the table. Now Birmingham made the bold decision to get rid of John Eustace, and it remains to be seen how well that decision will pan out for Birmingham. After this international break, they do go into really quite a tricky run of games, and this bold call they've made on the manager really could backfire. A big improvement from last time is Hull City. They're up in 10th now in the bookies' estimations. When we did this video last time in August, they were all the way down in 18th place, but it's been a really good consistent start to the season for Liam Rossinia's side, really building on the momentum from last season. Really the only thing that I think Hull need to work on is just starting to turn a few more of those draws into wins. They were fairly draw heavy under Rossinia last season, and that's sort of been one of their issues of late, but certainly a side who I'd expect now to be in and around the playoff conversation. Next up we then got Coventry. It does feel like Mark Robins' side have started to get their act together recently, but the bookies have bumped them down a few places. Last time we did this video at the end of August, the bookies had Coventry in 7th place. Once again, and quite similar to Hull, I think the issue with Coventry is they've just been too draw heavy so far this season. 6 of their opening 11 matches have ended levels, and if they can just tip the needle slightly in their favour, turn a few more of those draws into wins, then they will shoot up the table, because they have been hard to beat so far. 8th place, we then got West Brom. They're 11th in the table in real life. When we last did this video, the bookies did have them in the top 6, but they have dropped them a few places since last time. Now, West Brom have been a little bit up and down. Still the best side I've seen come to Deepdale so far this season. They absolutely wiped the floor with us with a perfect away performance, putting 4 goals past North End, but they have had their ups and downs. Right now, you'd probably say a finish of around about 8th is quite realistic for West Brom. I think they will be there or thereabouts in the conversation, but do they have enough to get over the line? Not so sure. In 7th place, the bookies then have Middlesbrough. Now, Middlesbrough have been absolutely everywhere in the bookies' predictions so far this season. At the very start of the year, I think that Borough were 3rd in the bookies' predictions. They then dropped them all the way down to 10th in the table, and they've now bumped them up a few places up to 7th. Now, Middlesbrough have discovered a bit of form recently and have started to look like the side that we all thought they'd be this season. Obviously, we're quite used to Middlesbrough having a slow start to the campaign, but they are starting to churn out those results now. It was 4 wins on the bounce before this international break, and they've certainly put themselves back in the conversation with that run. A big climber from last time, we then have Sunderland, who have sneaked into the top 6 by the bookies' end of season predictions. Now, to be honest, when we did the video last time, I was quite surprised just how low the bookies actually had Sunderland. They had them all the way down in 13th at the end of August, but been a good run of form for Sunderland of late. They've won 6 of their first 11 matches, are on 19 points and are 4th in the table right now. A very young group of players, and there have been mistakes in there so far, but on their day they can be so dynamic, and there is a lot of goals in that squad. And the bookies are standing firm when it comes to their prediction on Norwich City, still having them in 5th place, one of the few sides who haven't moved whatsoever since we last did an update video on this. Now, Norwich have been a little bit wishy-washy so far this season, I think is how I'd describe them under David Wagner. In real life, they are only 1 point outside of the top 6, but there have been real highs and lows so far this season, probably the lowest point of the year being that away defeat at Plymouth, which looked really ugly. But on the flip side of that, their creative numbers, and especially early on when they had Sargent firing them in, were all really promising. Just another championship side that have been very up and down so far, but the bookies are still backing them to get over the line. In 4th place, we then have Southampton, who are a faller of 2 places from last time. When we did this video at the end of August, the bookies did have Southampton as the 2nd favourites to be promoted. They did have them in one of those automatic promotion spots. That's no longer the case, obviously. They had that quite drastic tail off in form, which they have managed to come out the other end of. As things stand, they sit 10th in the championship table, but just 1 point off the top 6, and I think that has to be the bare minimum for Southampton this season, a top 6 finish. 3rd place, the bookies then have Leeds, which is up 1 place from last time. There have been a couple of bumps in the road so far, but generally speaking, I've been quite impressed by Leeds so far under Daniel Farker. I think that the spinning plates he's had to deal with, 19 points from their first 11 matches is by no means disastrous, and it's really only because of the lightning start of the top 2 that they're not really in that conversation yet. You know, they already find themselves 9 points behind the automatic promotion spots, which is absolutely crazy, but that's just a testament to how consistent the top 2 have been. And that top 2 is no real surprise right now. In 2nd place, the bookies have Ipswich Town. For the first time this season, the bookies do have Ipswich as the 2nd favourites to be promoted. Who would have predicted that before a ball had been kicked? A lot of people thought that the bookies were overhyping Ipswich at the start of the year when they had them predicted to be in and around the top 6, but I think they've really defied all expectations so far this season with 28 points from their first 11 matches. Absolutely insane form. They've been scoring goals for fun. They've been great to watch on the eye. They really took my team Preston to pieces before the international break, and I mean, whether or not they can keep up this relentless consistency for much longer, it remains to be seen, but the lead they've already given themselves, 8 points above 3rd they currently sit, you have to admit they're in a great position right now to build upon. But it will come as no surprise that Leicester City are still leading the pack, both in real life and for the bookies' end of season predictions. Leicester are the most backside to be promoted right now, and it's not hard to see why. 30 points from their first 11 matches. They're currently projected to finish the year with 125 points, which would break all sorts of championship records. Don't get me wrong, I'm in no doubt there will be a point where Leicester do hit a bit of a rocky patch in their season, but even when that portion of the season comes, whether it's, you know, they lose back-to-back matches or they drop points in a 3-game week or something like that, it is really hard to see Leicester not occupying at least one of those top 2 spots. They just look so far clear of the majority of the rest of the teams that will be chasing. There we have it though, guys. I thought an interesting update at this point of the season as we are now in another international break. What do you make of the bookies' latest promotion and relegation odds? Would you be backing any outsiders as things stand? Let me know. Apart from that though, guys, that will now wrap it up for today's video. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stick around and subscribe for some regular championship content. And I'll see you all in the next one.